Single men of Reddit, what made you definitely not want a second date with a woman you went out with? We went to her place and her pets and plants were all dead. I saw a goldfish floating upside down in a fish tank, and she had a dead hamster in a cage on her dining room table. She said, "That happens a lot, and all I'm imagining is hamster after hamster starving to death right in front of her." The word sociopath floated into my mind. I made some excuses to leave, and she went a bit nutty at that point, which concerned me quite a bit, but at least I already figured her head was seriously spun. She rolled her eyes when I said she looked nice. She had put in a lot of effort, criticized where I chose to eat, complained about the music we went to see. I spent my date anxious, assuming that she was hating every moment, because, she didn't have anything positive to say about anything. Then I had a good time. Let's do this again. Nah, I'm good. I've got enough negativity and mixed signals coming from my own brain. I don't need that coming from the outside, too. I once went to a movie as a first date with a girl. Her idea, bad idea. She got there late and the movie had already started. She then wanted to talk during the movie in the middle of a crowded theater. I didn't shush her or anything, but everything was a one-word answer, trying to end the conversation. She got up halfway through and said I obviously was not interested in her. She was right. So, I'm not proud of this one, but I'll share. Years ago, when I was still single, I met someone online. We chatted a bit, she seemed cool enough, and we decided to meet up for a burger at a place I knew downtown. Seemed like a kind of low-key thing. I get to the bar a few minutes early and order a beer, then finish it. Then 45 minutes late, she rolls in. Okay, cool. We all have jobs and have all dealt with traffic and whatever. It happens. But no excuse, just a shrug and that's how it goes sometimes. She sat down. We began chit-chatting. She asked about my work. I assumed it was regular nervous small talk, but no, it was trying to feel out how much money I made. When she asked my job title and I told her, she immediately suggested that we leave this casual pub place to hit up a wine bar down the block. Okay, I guess. It's a little more upscale than I had in mind, but okay. We walk there, get seated, and then come the menus. She ordered herself dinner. Some kind of seafood thing that cost an insane amount of money, and a bottle of wine. Not a glass, mind you, a $250 fricking bottle of wine. I had already ordered a drink from the bar for myself, and got the impression that this was not wine to share. She kept talking about how much her job sucked, and how little it paid, and how no one at work was fun to hang out with. Like the only conversation she had was bashing work and coworkers, with a few mildly racist undertones. The whole time she was texting friends to meet up that evening. I was invited, of course, to party with them all night, and I assume bankroll their fun. I discreetly went up to the bar, paid for my drink, and just left. Straight up noped out of there, without so much as a goodbye. From my messages when I checked in online later, I know that I stuck her with an almost $500 bill, and that she was going to sue me for it. Heard from the wine bar owner later. It was close to work, and sometimes a happy hour spot. That she apparently tried to skip out on the bill, but they stopped her, and she paid. By the way, my very next date was with the woman I eventually married. It went much, much better. I've posted this before because it's so weird. I went for a meal with this girl I met through a dating app, and it was going really well. We started talking about movies, and then we decided to go to the cinema to go watch Inception. She said there was a cinema nearby, but I didn't know the area at all, so I used the GPS on my phone, and she held it and directed me. Once we got there, we started walking inside, and I realized I didn't have my phone in my pocket. I said I must have left it in the car, and started to walk back to get it. She was trying to get me to leave it, and saying we would miss the film, but the phone was only about a week old, so I was really paranoid about it. We checked the car for 10 minutes, but we couldn't find it. I asked her to check her jacket and bag, and she said it wasn't there. Couple parked next to us, so I asked them to ring my number because I couldn't find it. It started to ring, and it was obviously coming from my date's handbag, so she took it out and said she must have missed it. I thanked the couple and locked my car, and as I turned back around, she was walking the other way. I ran to catch up and asked what was going on, but she was very dismissive and was barely talking. That's when I realized it probably wasn't an accident, and just left her to walk home alone. She asked if I had any love interests still in existence. When I said no, she didn't believe me. She told me she wanted to travel the world and see old friends, who were guys, and thought that I, as a lawyer, should work and pay for her travels. She was insane. She also offered to screw in her car in the first 5 minutes of meeting. No second date for you. Met her at a hospital. I was an ER patient for a hand wound. She was a phlebotomist. Asked her out to a movie, and then dinner. Had a really excellent talk about comics and movies. We were getting to know each other and flirting. It was clearly a date. At the end, when I told her I'd like to do it again, she said her fiancé probably wouldn't be cool with it a second time. I met a girl from my university for dinner one time, and she started the date off by saying she only ate with her hands and didn't use utensils because she's a super taster and can taste the metals they're made of. This would have been a problem if we were eating finger foods, of course, but it was a problem as I watched her eat a salmon fillet and wild rice like frickin' Gollum. Suggested we go to the nicest steakhouse in town. When I assumed we would go Dutch or pay for our own crap, she assumed I was paying because she's just old-fashioned. Asked me what my debt-to-income ratio was. Upon learning I had paid off my student loans, demanded that I pay her student loans if I wanted a second date. I drove us to the venue, but I just drove home myself after paying the bill. Go screw yourself, Aaron, you cheap chib. First and only date with a girl I barely knew, through some friends. I drove to her house. She got in my car and smelled like she had just taken a massive crap, but forgot to wipe. Went to dinner. I barely ate. Made an excuse to end early. Dropped her off and drove home with the windows down in the middle of winter. This one girl told me she was giving me a chance because a mutual friend said I was nice. She was totally out of my league, and we both knew it, but she insisted on acting like it was a favor to go out to dinner with me. If she's not actively happy about seeing me, I don't really want to see her either. She showed up to dinner high as a kite, dropped the word nut several times loud enough for the people around us to hear. She then got loaded during dinner, ordered an expensive plate, and barely touched it. She also told me I'm stupid for still buying books and childish for listening to music. She also insisted I had to take her out 2 to 3 times a week, minimum. It was also implied she'd be moving in with me in the near future. She was unemployed and living at home, which honestly didn't bother me. The whole jumping in the deep end did. 20 minutes into the date, I text my friend, "Holy crap, turns out she's awful." She didn't say anything. Like, there's being nervous, and then there's that. We were taking a film class together in school and agreed to go see a movie together. It became clear a few days beforehand that this was turning into a full-on date, and I just rolled with it. We were both single, and I thought we could have a fun night out together. I asked if we could get dinner after the movie to talk about it and get to know each other better. She seemed excited by the idea, and I was looking forward to the night. I picked her up, and she was dead silent. She was dressed to the nines for a casual date and was clearly nervous. I did my best to break the ice and run the conversation, and the best I could get out of her was a nervous chuckle and a yep. After the movie, I asked if she still wanted dinner, and she said absolutely, and then proceeded to watch me eat dinner while she stared at me. When I dropped her off at home, she told me she had a really nice time and hoped we could hang out again outside of class. I told her for sure, and we said goodnight. She flat out never said another word to me in class again. A year or so later, I ran into her at a party and asked her what the whole deal was about. She confessed that she was so god-darn anxious that she had no clue what to do or say. Apparently that was the first date she had ever been on with a guy. It's a shame too, because in that class we got along really well. I was just so put off by the silence that I didn't know how to approach her for the rest of the semester. Apparently she is a semi-professional golfer now. I haven't heard from her in years, but I hope she's doing well out there. Went for a walk in the woods. She walked about 5 feet ahead of me the whole time. Would think maybe she was nervous walking alone in the woods with a guy she didn't know, but she's the one that suggested a walk. I don't know. It was weird. She showed up in a dirty white dress. Her hair looked like it had not been brushed in months. During dinner, she told me she still lived at home, never wanted to get a job, and that she stole her dad's car while he was asleep to meet me at the restaurant. Then when she found out I was divorced, she said, "You didn't work hard enough to save your marriage." I put down the chopsticks, went and paid, and said, "Nice meeting you," and left. Went out for coffee. She brought a bottle of vodka and kept topping up her cup. I politely asked her what the deal was, and she said she liked to party. When it was time to go, she fell over and started screaming that I had to help her up. I did, told her to wait right there, and left. We meet up for coffee and a mid-afternoon sweet treat. All was going fairly well. Not great chemistry, but she seemed fairly interesting. Then she asked me what I thought was a great first date, maybe second in hindsight. Question: if you knew you were going to jail at some point in your future, what do you think it would be for? I thought for a while and said something like insider trading. What about you? I followed up. Without missing a beat, she said, murder. Then named the person and the reason for their murder. Then suggested if I ever saw their name on the news for being killed, I should tell the police it was her. I hoped she was joking, but I don't think so. Finished my coffee, said thanks, and left.